Welcome back to the Future Expat. I've got my Flaming Lips hat on and my Ingmar Bergman t-shirt. So it's all culture here. Culture all day, all night. And all right, I've moved to the kitchen table because this is where the serious financial actions occur. So let me just go, again, I'm just gonna kind of give like a day in the life and then maybe a second day in the life, and then we can just kind of extrapolate that and figure out how much it would cost for a month just in terms of basic fees. I still don't have my electric bill, so I don't know exactly how much that's gonna be, but I'm gonna guess. I mean, I'm hoping it's not gonna be like twice that much because I do keep the air on quite a bit. And electricity is not cheap in Cambodia. That's something you should know. So rent, I'm like very much a person who the place I stay really affects my mood. And I grew up in when I was really young, we lived in a trailer park, and the trailer burned down in the middle of the night. And we lived with relatives for a couple of years after that. So just to give you a little bit of like my own back story. And then for years after that, we lived in these like really crappy apartments on the south side of Chicago, where oftentimes they would get broken into. I can't tell you how many times we would come home and, you know, from shopping or something, open the door and the door is already like slightly open and the place had been ransacked. So how, like where you live means a lot. For me, it does. Like I have a lot of bad associations with certain kinds of apartments. And even in my 20s, there was a time when it was after my first divorce, and I had a job in Colorado, and they let everybody go. They let all the new people go in December, at the end of December. So I really didn't have any place to go. I didn't have any money. My father had a camping trailer down in Southern Illinois. So I went down there thinking this is the place I was going to go, and I was going to apply for unemployment insurance. It was a horrible camping trailer. There was no running water. Well, the running water was a hose through the window. The ceiling was kind of drooping down. The heat was a kerosene heater that was just asphyxiating me. I'm trying to think what else. The electricity was just like stolen. It was attached to a pole a long ways away that was not. I don't think it was an official electric pole for that area. Anyways, it was a bad situation, and I know how bad situations, bad places, grim places where I can't sit down, places where I don't. You know, there's not a couch, there's not like, you know, room to kind of move around, how that affects me. So I'm very particular about where I live. Also noise issues, things like that. So anyways, I was staying at a hotel when I first got here, and an apartment came up bigger than what I was looking for, more expensive than what I was looking for, but it looked right. It looked like what I was looking for. And it was a 2-bedroom apartment. It was maybe $100 more than what I was hoping to pay. But as soon as I looked at it, it just seemed perfect for me. It's high up, which muffles a lot of the sounds below, which is great. It's 2 bedrooms. I don't really need 2 bedrooms, but I'd rather have 2 bedrooms than 1 bedroom if I can afford it. So, and eventually, moving here permanently, I would want a 2-bedroom place just for the size of the place. So it's $580 a month, and it's in a great neighborhood. It's near the Russian market. It's a quiet street. It has a washing machine, and yeah, it pretty much has what I need. There's some kitchen issues and things. There are a few issues here and there, but if I were to stay here longer, there's a lot of things I would do. But for just being here, I'm extremely happy with it. And yeah, 580 is, I know I'll get blasted in comments by some people that that's crazy. But again, it's like, I'm not looking, you have to look at criteria. If my criteria was, I have a $1,000 budget and I need that to last for the month, I would be crazy living in this place. I'd be absolutely crazy living in this place. So criteria is a movable feast. You have to determine what your criteria is and where the different elements of that criteria fit in this kind of sliding scale. It may be that at another point in my life, I'll want a cheaper place. But right now, I didn't need that. I didn't want to, I don't want anything extravagant. I didn't want $1,000 place. I didn't want anything, that was beyond, and again, over 500, I was a little skeptical because I was hoping to keep it under. I was actually thinking of 300 to 500, but when I saw the place, I was like, yeah, 580s, I'll do that. So there's that. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to kind of go through some potential days, what I would eat, and keep track. We'll do it for 2 different days, and that way I'll multiply one by 15 and another by 15. So there's some days where I don't eat breakfast, and I'll just eat a banana or 2. And so let's say the bananas, a bunch of bananas, like 25 cents per banana? So let's say if I eat 2 bananas over the course of breakfast, 50 cents. Now let's say that I want to go out for Thai food, which I did last night, but let's say I want to do it for lunch. There's a great Thai place, lots of great dishes. So if you're on a budget and you just want to get a dish and you don't want anything else, drink the water that's at the table, $3.50 for stir-fried basil is what I paid. And it was delicious. It was great. Now, I got rice with that, so that's 50 cents, so that would bring it up to $4. I usually have a Coke Zero or a Coke Light with my meal, so that was 75 cents. And because I'm a glutton, I got the mango sticky rice for dessert, which is $4. Now, the desserts will always kill you in terms of your budgets, but I got mine for dinner. It was, if I just had lunch, I might have just gotten stir fry by itself. So all of that was $8.75, but let's erase the sticky rice. Let's say you just wanted to drink a rice and the stir fried basil. That would be $4.75. So for $5, you can get yourself a good Thai meal. Now for dinner, I don't have the receipt in front of me, but I remembered that this was a while back, but I went to a really nice pizza place. Like, it was in a really nice building. It kind of a fancy-ish place. I got a margarita pizza. I got a Coke Light, and I got, I believe, a tiramisu for dessert, and it was $10. So we could put down $10 for a nice dinner. So the one thing I'll say is that a lot of the dinners that I get, which are very, very nice dinners at like great Italian places or great Indian places, with the dessert, sometimes even with an appetizer and with a drink, it's rarely over $10. So $10 for dinner. So I guess what I would say is that If you want to eat something a little more localish, you can get a sit-down lunch for $5. You can get and you can get a nice dinner for $10. So that brings your budget up to what, with your banana, that's $15.50 for the day. Now let's add on. Let's say if you want to get like one of these bad boys, that's 50 cents. $2.22 if you want one of these. It usually takes me about 3 days to drink one of these. 70 cents a day for this. So then sometimes I'll get a snack at night of some kind. So like something from the corner store or something while I'm just out walking. So let's just budget $2 in for that. Let's say I don't drink that much anymore. I think I've gotten a lot of that out of my system over the years. But if I do drink, which, for example, last night, I wasn't really planning on drinking, but I wanted to see, there were a couple of bars I hadn't seen, so I walked by one and had a drink, and wasn't necessarily, that was a nice enough bar. I just wasn't enjoying myself there. So then I walked down to another bar and just immediately kind of liked the place and liked the people working there and some of the other people there. So began talking to them. So I had more drinks than I normally would have, and which ended up maybe being about 5 beers. But if I want to kind of divide everything up throughout the month, like I probably have about a beer a day, which means I may not have beer for like 4 days or 5 days, and then one day I might have all of my beers in that day. Whereas other times I might have like one beer for, while I'm sitting in a beer garden or a rooftop bar or something like that. So let's just say one beer a day, and a bottle of beer, depending, I'm going to say $1.50 for a bottle of Cambodian beer. I like the glass beer. You can get it cheaper in the can. You can get it even cheaper in the draft. I like the glass beer, so again, if I'm foolish for spending money I don't need to spend, that's fine. But let's say $1.50 a day for beer. So one of the things that I don't know is how much the electricity is going to cost me here. But looking online, I mean, it could cost me $200. I'm going to be very pessimistic right now and say, because of how much I run it, that it might actually cost me $250. I'll find out at the end of the month, but let me just put that down. Just as a kind of, if it costs less, then that's bonus. Okay, so that kind of a day adds up to be $20.20, which over the course of 15 days, so let's say you live half of your month doing this kind of meal plan, that is $303 per month, okay? Now another type of day I might have, which is that I'll go to like a really nice restaurant and get something it's called pancakes, that has fresh fruit on it and with a fresh fruit drink. And that'll also be about $10. Okay, so for breakfast, that could be $10. And then maybe I'm not that hungry for lunch after that, but I do have a sweet tooth. I mean, so I found a receipt here. I don't even know where this place is, but I had a blueberry cream cheese Danish and an iced latte. The Danish was $1.65 and the latte was $3.55. So that lunch, kind of afternoon lunch snack is $5.20. So iced lattes are not necessarily cheap here. You can find everything you want. You can find a cheap version of it, or you could go to like a stand. Like my thing, and this again kind of goes to clarifying what my point is in terms of like how I like to live. I can go to a stand. I could definitely go to a coffee stand, get the coffee in the plastic bag, go someplace else and drink it. I don't want to do that. I just don't. Unless I happen to be out, happen to be walking by the stand and I'm thirsty, then I'll do it. But I personally like to find a place that is just my idea of what's aesthetically nice doesn't mean that it's like fancy. It just means it's interesting, you know? So it could be a very small, you know, kind of very localish place, but it's interesting. And there are chairs and there's a fan, and I'll pay the $3.55 for the iced latte for that experience. So I can sit there, I can enjoy it. I'm not on the rush. I'm not worrying about the ice melting by the time I get back. I'm not drinking in my room. Yeah, so, you know, that's what I mean by there are things that I want to do. They're not fancy. They're not extravagant, but I know that that just makes me feel better. That it's just kind of more of what I want to do. It's not like if I start thinking about like, oh, okay, I got to bring this food home. I got to do this. I got to do that. It just starts seeming like a big pain in the ass to me. So that's kind of it. That's really the cutoff point for me. All right, so this place was kind of expensive. One thing I have to say, I've not found here a cheeseburger to my liking. I keep trying them, and I mean, beef is not the strong suit of Southeast Asia to begin with. So, anyways, I did get this. I guess I didn't get a drink with it, so it's pretty pricey actually. It's a smashed burger. It's a classic smashed double, so I got the double burger. $6.95. I mean, that's kind of U.S. prices. Then French fries, $2.50. Again, that's U.S. prices, kind of. All right, I take that back. It's not, maybe that was U.S. prices 10 years ago, but it's definitely not your like $1 meal, your $2 meal. The total for this was $9.45. Again, if you add in, I'm still going to do the same thing where it's like you get the big bottle of water, you get snacks, you get a beer. I can't remember what 70 cents was for, but I'm going to add that on since that was on the original bill here. So, okay, the 70 cents was for the pineapple juice. Okay, so that gives you for 15 days $418.50. So that jacks it up like an extra $100 for just 15 days compared to the $303 version. So you see, like, even just little tweaks that you make can save you money if that's what you're trying to do. I'm not trying to save money. I guess that's the thing. It's like I'm not trying to blow money, but that's not my concern. My concern is, can I eat the things I like to eat? Am I having a good life? That's really kind of the bottom line. So the food budget for the year, for the month, doing this kind of budget is $721.50. Okay, so if you add rent, prospective electric bill, which I don't know what it's going to be yet, but I'm saying it's $250. If it's less than that, it's bonus money back to me. If it's more than that, I'll grit my teeth and pay it. And then $721 for food. That brings you to $1,551. As I said, you can get as far as like rent goes, you could find a place that's $150. I've seen those advertised. You could probably even get cheaper than that. You can also get a $3,000 place to live, or a $2,000 place to live, or a $1,000 place to live. So budget for housing is going to be dependent upon what your needs are, what your budget is, and what you're willing to spend. I mean, I think you can find just about anything here, pretty much. And, the $150 place may be further out than you would want to be. But if you're okay with that and you have a motor scooter, maybe it's fine. So one expense I don't have is a motor scooter. So an expense that I do have, though, is I use Grab or tuk-tuks. So I don't use it every day. Most of the time when I use it, it's about $1.25, $1.80 somewhere in that range. So let's say $80 cents going someplace, and then or a dollar going someplace and a dollar coming back on average. Like for example, when I had to go to the doctor the other day, that was a hell of a long way away, and I think that was closer to about $3.50 there and $3.50 back. So some days are gonna, it's gonna like hit you a little harder than others. But as I said, most of the time I'm just walking around. So, but let's say it's on average $2 a day. So that's $60 to add to it. Then there's just like your kind of daily stopping into the convenience store and picking up something. And I am incredibly guilty of doing this on an almost daily basis. So I'm not going to do that. But what I would say is that on average, I don't know, I think it's easy to spend 20 bucks a week there, because it's, I go in there, I'll get toilet paper, I'll get dishwashing detergent, I'll get, soap, I'll get napkins, I might get a snack, I might get a can of beer. And it's just like all kinds of different things that you might just pick up, or something looks kind of interesting, you'll get it. Sometimes I need something like I need a phone adapter, or my charger for my iPhone isn't working, so I have to buy an iPhone charger, and little things like that, and they all add up. So I'm going to say 20 bucks a month. Okay, let's talk about gym expenses. So there's a gym that's near me that looks like a nice gym that you can subscribe to for 30 bucks a month. Okay, so with tuk-tuk cost, with convenience store cost, with gym, that brings you up to $1,721. And it's not a cheap Charlie budget. Let's talk about visas. So I have the retirement visa, which cost me $300, maybe a little less than that, but about $300 for the year, using a visa agent. Yeah, so per month that's 25 bucks. So if we add that on, 1721 plus 25, we are now looking at 1,746. So let me kind of pause there. I think that is what gets you, if you're here and you're not planning on doing much of anything. That doesn't include entertainment. That doesn't include travel. Some of these expenses will go with you when you travel. So, for example, food and a handful. And you might even save money on electricity, because if you have a base here, you'll be turning off your AC while you're gone, or turning it down. But yeah, I think $1,746. If you want to start adding other things onto it, then it's going to go up. So once you're here, you're going to find cheaper things. You're going to find like, oh, this restaurant is doing the same thing as this restaurant, but it's a better quality and it's cheaper than that. And so you can cut corners here and there. At the present time, since I'm new here, I'm just walking into places with very little research. I'll look at it on Google, see if it's highly rated. If it is, I go in, I check it out, and sometimes, I would say most of the time, I'm incredibly happy with the food situation. But yeah, once you start adding in travel, it's definitely going to go up. You can take a bus, you can take a cheap bus from here to Ho Chi Minh City, to Saigon. You could take a cheap bus from here to Siem Reap, or you could fly to either of those cities, or you could hire a driver. I think a driver is like maybe 80 or 90 bucks one way. So if you start looking at things like that, let's say you want to go to Siem Reap and you hire a private driver, and then that's, 180 bucks, 200 bucks there and back. And plus the hotel cost while you're there. So I don't know. I mean, if you want to add on like an extra, I would say if you round up to $2,500 a month, that affords you one modest trip in a nearby area. Like maybe you could fly to Bangkok for a few days. Maybe you can go to Siem Reap for a week or so. Maybe you could go to Vietnam for a short trip. Find affordable housing accommodation. So I'm gonna say if you round up to like $2,500, I think that's not bad. I think if you go up to like 3,000, then you're getting into the category where you could kind of do what you want to do. You could go to the Philippines, you could go to Hong Kong, you could go to, you might be able to go to Japan for a short trip. You can go to Singapore, you can go to Malaysia, you can go, like it doesn't have to be as constrained as sticking around right around here. That's just my feeling. That's my sense. And again, I could be wrong about all of this. You can, if you're the sort of person who can live on $10 a day eating, and you're fine with $150 room, then there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Just as, there's nothing wrong with if you want to live on, like a $2,000 apartment, and everybody has their reasons. I mean, that's kind of like that's like a trope of crime fiction, but it's true in life too. Everybody has their reasons, right? One thing I didn't include in this was health insurance or health costs. So one thing I'll say, I don't really want to get into like health stuff too much. I mean, I talked about like my own health issue and how it costs whatever, like $50 to go see a specialist, which is great. Insurance is one of those really tricky things. A lot of people, I see lots and lots of people talk about that they self-insure, that they pay out of pocket. I've seen terrible situations where people move to places, they become a vlogger, and then something really bad happens and they can't afford, they don't have insurance back home, and they don't have insurance where they're living, and they find themselves in a really precarious situation. And to me, it's not, I don't have a moral judgment about that. It's more of like I don't want that kind of stress in my life. I don't want to be in a situation where it's like I'm owing a hospital $50,000 and I don't have $50,000 and I don't have any other kind of insurance or anything like that. So I'm a little paranoid about that. I have a savings that'll cover, I think, almost any kind of major thing that might happen. But I also have catastrophic insurance. And so catastrophic insurance is cheap enough that if something major happens, it's covered. And, so it's got a really high deductible. So I just wanted something that if I get in a situation where I need to be taken out of the country, or something happens where it's suddenly like it's serious and I can't get out of the country, I wanted something to be able to cover that, and something where I walk into a hospital and they're like, oh, you have insurance, okay, we'll work with you and not send me packing. Give me the bum rush. Even if I have the money, I do fear that, where it's like I feel like I need a T-shirt saying I have the money to cover this cost. Like don't. I think sometimes I go into places like my arms are covered in tattoos, and I think there might be a little bit of a bias in terms of like, okay, this guy probably doesn't. He might not be of the highest character. So that's what I do right now. I also have insurance back home. So, I mean, if something terrible happens, like if I find out that I need some like serious medical care and I have the capability of going back home, I'll go back home and get that taken care of. If it's here and it's something where I can't get out of here and it's something serious, I have catastrophic insurance. If it's something that I need done, catastrophic insurance won't cover it and it's not practical for me to go home, I have money in the bank. So that's kind of what that's kind of my plan in terms of like being able to give myself peace of mind. And at this point in my life, peace of mind is top priority. Like, I don't want to have to worry about shit. But I think one of the things, for me at least, when I watch these videos, it's like, there are too many videos that lean toward like you can live in this country for $800, or you can live in this country for $1,000, and occasionally there's like a video that goes on the complete other side. It's like, what can you do with $4,000 in the Philippines? Well, it's like kind of like, what can't you do for $4,000 in the Philippines? Anyway, I hope this was helpful. It may not have been helpful at all. All right, stay tuned, like and subscribe, and I'll get back to you soon with a new episode. All right, see you later.